In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can use Excel and some basic functions to calculate a t critical value and your confidence intervals in Excel. So first off, you may have raw data, and so you'll need to calculate the average and sample standard deviation using that. So I assume that you can do that already. If you're only given the values rather than having to calculate them from raw data, then you can start to plug them in here. Notice I've just put in these placeholders X bar, S, N, and our significance level for our level of confidence. So here we have X bar. Let's suppose our sample mean is 25. Our sample standard deviation is 5, and we happen to have a sample size of, let's say, 56. And we want to calculate a 90% confidence interval. This means that our significance level is 0.10. So it'll just be the complement of that. Now, if we want to calculate our confidence interval, we'll first need our standard error. From there, we'll need to get our t critical value. Then we'll be able to obtain our margin of error, and then we'll get our lower bound and our upper bound. So I'm just putting in placeholders for each one of these as I make the calculations. So the standard error for a t confidence interval is going to be S, the standard deviation from the sample, divided by the square root of the sample size. Instead of putting in the values 5 and 56 here, I'm going to just grab the cells that I have the numbers in, my inputs. So that way, if I ever need to change these, it will automatically change the value in this cell. Square root is then the function that I need in order to take the square root of 56. So SQRT is the function. I just need to wrap that value in some parentheses. Press enter, and I have my standard error. Now to get the t critical value, I need to use a t function. So I start to write in t, and I'll notice this t.inverse.toTail. This is the one I want to use. It's the easiest one, and I need to put in my probability. Good news is I can just put in my alpha level that I've already put in here. So here it's a little strange. You don't put in your confidence level. You actually put in your significance level. So if it's a 90% confidence interval, you'll put in 0.1. 95, you'll put in 0.05. 99, you'll put in 0.01. So from here, then I need to put in my degrees of freedom separated with a comma from my alpha level. And I can do that by grabbing n, and I can do -1 if that's the degrees of freedom, if I'm doing a one sample procedure, which I am here, and press enter. And that is my t critical value for a 90% confidence interval when n is equal to 56. So my degrees of freedom are essentially 55. Now my margin of error is always going to be the t critical value times my standard error. So now I can just grab those two values, multiply them together, and that's going to be what makes up my width of the interval. For the upper bound, I take my sample mean, my point estimate, and I subtract off the margin of error. That's going to be the lower bound. The upper bound will be my point estimate plus the margin of error. And now I have my 90% confidence interval for the mean using a t critical value. If I recognize that I made a mistake here, I can easily change it. Oh no, I recognize that my sample mean is actually 27. I change that, and notice all the values here change because I've written in functions in this little calculator. If this time you need to calculate a 95% confidence interval, then write in 0.05. This will then change my t critical value to, it looks like 2, and will also change then my margin of error and my lower bound and upper bound. I don't need to redo these things because I've just grabbed the cells of the inputs, and so my outputs all change when I change these. Hopefully this video helped you better understand how to do a t confidence interval using basic functions of Excel.